So, this has become like a real big issue since the insurrection and the mass shootings and all the stuff that's taken place. Most politicians that run for any kind of reason or whatever the case is, it doesn't matter if it's in the White House, it doesn't matter if it's in as your state governor, it doesn't matter what they run for. But not all of the politicians that are out there and that stuff believe that video games cause violence. In fact, some of them know for a fact that when you play a video game that is very, very violent and you see a lot of violent stuff that happens in the video game, like cartoon violence and that stuff, that then they would know for a fact that just because you're playing something violent doesn't mean that it would have a connection to the reality. So, say, for example, you go out there and you make a very, very good killing streak off of Fortnite. And you're having a good time, just making bunches of kills and that stuff. You win the squad match or solo, whatever it is, that stuff, and you have a good time doing it. The next thing you know, you have a choice to actually make. So, yeah, all politicians are not the same. There are many politicians that know really well that it's proven that video games do not cause violence. Now, there are most politicians that say that video games cause violence, but there is no proof that people, well, especially knowledge scientists or psychologists or psychiatrists, whatever the case is, they know for a fact that video games do not cause violence in the real world. So, mass shootings and the insurrection, whatever the case is, it is not caused by video games. That is a fact. And most politicians are not going to understand this at all. In fact, the one who said that the video games were so destructive was Trump himself. Now, imagine your favorite video game just gets banned because of a really, really stupid executive order that is signed by any president that is elected. I'm talking about if there was a president that was elected right after Joe Biden, then that would, sign executive orders that would ban violent video games being sold to people, or perhaps the shutdown of gaming companies making these violent video games because it is what they believe it promotes violence in the real world. When really they don't. But stupid politicians like to believe that stuff. And they like to say, okay, so this is what it is. Obviously, they're not going to say that there's proof. The only proof that they're going to say, the only proof that they would say that, okay, so in my head, I believe that there's proof that video games cause violence in the real world and that stuff. That's what they're going to tell you, that stuff. And it's proven in my theory, this is my own conspiracy theory, that video games cause violence in the real world and that stuff. They're so destructive and that stuff. That's what I believe. That's what they're going to tell you. And then somebody else be saying, like, but there's no proof that says video games cause violence in the real world. Best thing you could do at that point is not try to, is, like I said this before, if something's not working for you, then you just need to, like, shut up about it and not keep pushing on the issue. Because what good is that going to do? What good is it that, what are you going to do? Take these companies that make these violent video games, especially companies like, Nintendo, like, take them to court over the Legend of Zelda series because it's killing creatures with a Master Sword? And you're going to take Nintendo to court and sue them over that? Because you're the politician and whatever you say is what you're going to go with, so you're just going to go ahead and, take these companies to court because of the violent video games that they create. And the next thing you know, these companies aren't going to have any, not going to be able to go back to work because if they get shut down because you're wanting to shut these companies down just because of you believe video games cause violence, you believe that these companies are, evil for making these kind of games. And you're gonna take them to court because you think you're in the right here to ban the video games over the mass shootings and the insurrection stuff. Yeah, I believe you're in the wrong to do stuff like that. And besides, Once you find out that you started losing all these court cases and that stuff because the courts would say there is no proof that video games cause violence in the real world and that stuff, what are you going to do? Keep pushing it, keep trying to push on the conspiracy theory and hoping that the courts would say that yes, video games do cause violence in the real world. Uh, no, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna keep on telling you. They would keep on telling you, no, has not been proven that stuff, and you know, you kept on having court case after court case and bringing up the same issue over and over again. Do you think that would be like one major headache right there? Because you know what you're trying to push is going to fail. And believe me, if there is no proof that video games cause violence in the real world and that stuff, then you politicians are going to have a real tough time and that stuff. And what are you going to do? Beg the courts that all these video game companies that are making these violent video games to shut down because 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 of your own belief that video games cause violence in the real world? No, it doesn't work like that. If the courts say that the studies prove that video games do not cause violence in the real world and that stuff, then I got one word to say. I got like a few words to say to you, and that is stop pushing the issue. Stop pushing the issue. What good is it gonna do you? You're just gonna keep on failing and failing to convince the courts that video games cause violence in the real world. The courts know that it's been proven that video games don't cause violence in the real world and that stuff. Why keep pushing the issue? Why keep pushing the issue? Oh, I know why we keep pushing the issue. And continue pushing these court cases and that stuff. It's because you politicians are just, well, really stupid to the head. Besides, somebody stupid like Mitch McConnell would probably believe this kind of stuff. He believed he he Mitch McConnell is, well, really stupid to the head. Okay, he's a Republican, and Republicans that I don't want to say that Republicans are stupid because there are some that are not. People like Mitt Romney, John McCain. Mitt Romney is the one that isn't stupid like the rest of the Republicans, but I mean, these people are individuals, and I got it that most individuals can be very stupid to the head, not just the political party. And let's face it, there's also Democrats that are not stupid as well. Okay, Joe Biden is not stupid like you would think he would be, expect him to be that way. You would expect Joe Biden to be stupid. You would probably expect that out of former President Obama. I mean, these Democrats were not that stupid. They made horrible decisions during their presidencies, but, I mean, were they worse than Donald J. Trump? No. Donald J. Trump was just a stupid individual, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But, yeah, you get my point. There are politicians that believe that video games do not cause in real life violence. And you think if you find out that you kept on trying to push the video games cause violence in the real world issue in courts and that stuff, and you realize that you keep on failing on pushing this court case, no matter how many lawyers or professional lawyers, like that, lawyers could try to convince the courts as much as they want, and the lawyers can say to the courts that, okay, so this is what I found about video games causing violence in the real world and that stuff. And they can say that to the courts all they want. But the courts are the ones that make the decisions, not lawyers, not politicians. It's the courts. And whatever the courts say, you have to go with. You can't change anything about that. So, if the courts say, or if they pass laws that say that it's scientifically proven that video games do not cause violence in the real world, and this isn't in the law, but I'm just going to add to this because this is the big thing that really says a lot about people, is that whatever video game you play, whatever violent video game you play and that stuff, and you go out there and you go do mass shootings or vandalism, whatever the case is and that stuff, just remember you're going to get yourself arrested for doing that stuff. And that it's not the video game's fault that you commit these kind of crimes and that stuff, but it is you as an individual. It is your choice whether you play so much Fortnite and then afterwards go out there and commit these mass murders and that stuff. Don't be surprised that in the end result it will be arrest for you. And the cops are not going to buy this. Well, I've been playing too much Fortnite and that stuff. It's the video game's fault, not my fault. And they're going to say to you, sorry, bro. But it's proven that video games do not cause violence in the real world and that stuff. You took the action to go out there and mass shoot and kill people after playing Fortnite and that stuff. That is not my problem. And it's not the video game's fault. It's your fault because you made the choice. You did the crime. So, sorry, buddy. There's nothing else I can tell you other than you're guilty as charged. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like the video, please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, Charles Morris. And I'll possibly be uploading another video. I'm planning on making this a series of videos on this topic because I feel like it's very important that this issue is discussed, because if when there's more crime that happens here in the US, believe me, there are politicians that are still going to continue to target video games for violence here in the US. And it's obviously very, very stupid, and it's important to discuss these issues. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.